You ever wanted to live in a one-level home in a super prime location? I'm gonna take you guys inside this super awesome 3-bedroom home in the Mills Estates neighborhood. You're gonna absolutely love it. It's 2,000 square feet, killer backyard. It's just a total oasis. So let's go inside and take a look. And then I'm gonna share with you guys a little bit about our park nearby, the elementary school. So let's dive in and take a look. This house is pretty sweet. So our clients really had a major green thumb, and you can just, you got all the ferns here. Check out these beautiful flowers over here, walls of greenery. So let's go inside and I'll show you guys around. But one thing that's cool, you can see from an irrigation perspective, is just over here on the ground. So thoughtful. There's a little pipe that kind of pops up with little drip lines that support these ferns here. And I've not really seen these before, but I love them, they're beautiful. All right, let's pop inside. So this home, like I was saying, it's about 2,000 square feet, 2,050 square feet to be exact. The home was built in 1955 or so, and then in 1989, a really well-known architect came in here and did a major renovation of the house. So it's pretty rare to find, this home basically lives like a 4-bedroom, but it's pretty rare to find a home like this anywhere in Burlingame, not only in this type of condition, but with this type of floor plan. So we're gonna kind of take a look. And what's cool is, we'll pop back out in a sec, but the flow to the backyard is really, really nice here. So we've got this family room over here, and then let's keep going. I'm gonna show you guys the kitchen area, but there's a lot of detail that's here, which we're gonna come back to in a sec. And let's check out this kitchen. I will mention though, if you're looking to buy a home in Burlingame and you kind of want something that's one level, it's kind of hard to get this much square footage unless you're in the Mills Estates neighborhood where we are. So Mills Estates is west of El Camino, but it's really west of the Ray Park neighborhood. It is south of Truesdale, and east is kind of up in the hills. So it's east of Skyline. But it's very interesting, many people don't know this, that the Mills Estates neighborhood in Burlingame actually extends about 2 blocks north of Truesdale. Many people think just north of Truesdale is Millbrae, but it goes a couple blocks there. And then just north of those 2 blocks is Millbrae, and that neighborhood's called Mills Estate without the letter S. So you have Mills Estates in Burlingame and Mills Estate in Millbrae. Again, probably no one's gonna remember that, but it is what it is. So we've got a good setup here with the kitchen, a massive skylight, and I like this, right? It's pretty convenient. The design, I love the color scheme that we have here. We kind of have this more of a bluish color on the bottom and a white color on the top. Now take a look at this. I thought this was like way ahead of their time, doing this like in the late 80s for a remodel is cool. Just having this little spot here for the microwave, kind of see this over here. It's all clean. It's nice. A lot of times people are building new construction now and they'll have a separate pantry, but you kind of get that space. And for a 2,000 square foot home to have all this right here where you can just kind of stash your blender and toaster and microwave, I'm a huge fan of that. Then we have this nice view looking out. A lot of times in Burlingame and just in general, with the lot sizes being where they are, you look out and you're looking directly at your neighbor's house. So I like that here. You're just looking out at some plants. It's relaxing. Well, from a flow perspective, it's nice because you have this breakfast nook area with a beautiful view of the backyard. And that is my favorite part of the house. And I can't wait to give you guys an idea of what that looks like. But if we walk over here, we have a separate living area too. So we've got the main area over there, second area here. Someone could put a TV here if they wanted, and then it flows into the garage, which I'll come back and show you. But in Burlingame, or really anywhere in the peninsula, having an attached garage, in my view, is pretty sweet. And so this home absolutely checks the box with a 2-car side-by-side garage. So last year in the Mills Estates neighborhood, there were about 12 sales. They're about 170-ish in all of Burlingame the whole year. So we typically average around that dozen. And the median home price last year was about $2.9 million, which is very close to the Burlingame median and average, which was around $3 million. Now we'll come back a little bit more to some data, but I want to show you the bedrooms over here. We've got 1 bedroom in the front, and again, not huge, not small, but I think this is totally fine and nice for what it is. We have a lot of light coming in. You can kind of see the street here. We're just around the corner from Franklin Elementary School, and we're only a few doors in from Truesdale. So location-wise, this is stellar. Then we have a 2nd bedroom up front here. And again, this is nice. I mean, there's sliding glass door that goes out to the patio. So this could be used as an office if someone was working from home. There's a lot of different ways this space can be used. Obviously, we have it staged as a bedroom now, but it's nice. You've got all the rose garden there, kind of in the front. And then we have have these beautiful cherry blossom trees. There's, looks like 3 total. So we're shooting this now in mid-April, and I'm very fortunate that we get to see this beauty. Even though we're not in Japan or in Washington, DC, just having our cherry blossoms here in the peninsula is awesome. All right, so this is the full bath. Again, pretty simple, good size. A lot of times you'll have a sheet of glass here, but in this case, we just have a curtain, which again is totally fine. It's a little on the older side. Sometimes I've had a few of you ask, like, do you think I really need to remodel or do I have to? And I feel like here, someone could just move right in, and if they wanted to remodel this at some point and freshen up, they could. But because of the colors that have been chosen, I think it's great. And actually there's mirrors all the way around here, so it just opens up the space a little bit more. Now, if we pop down the hallway here, again, this is another nice feature about being one level. You have basically 4 bedrooms. So this house is technically 3 bedrooms according to the county, but it's because one of the bedrooms doesn't have a closet. So that's kind of why we're calling it this here. But it basically lives like 4 bedrooms. This is the 3rd room that I'm showing you. And again, beautiful view of the yard. We've got a closet over here, which is pretty big actually. So I'll show you guys the closet here. Again, totally fine. And then this has an attached bath over here. And you kind of see there's a very different style, right? We have the mirror again here. We've got a stall shower with a little bit of this cool like curved wraparound thing. And then again, more mirrors here. So considering that there's no windows in this bathroom, it actually feels pretty bright and relaxing. All right, last room I'm gonna show you over here is the primary suite. This is a good size. There's actually some really cool features here. So we've got a little closet here, you know, nothing super exciting, but it is cool. And then check this out over here. It kind of looks like wall paneling, right? Kind of concealed, and I think that looks pretty clean the way that they designed that. You can kind of see over here too. There's just so much space. Now, when I look out the window here, you can see the neighbor's backyard. Again, that's very common that we can see neighbors' houses, but typically you'd have the blinds down a little bit, or you can also plant, do a little bit of a green screen over there. So the flow here to the backyard is so nice. There's several different ways that you can access like the front yard and the backyard. So just coming out from the primary, you get this maple here. We have a couple rose bushes here. And then check out these vines. Oh my gosh. They kind of go, I mean, I don't know how many there are here, but at least there's like 10 or 20 different vines that are kind of all really wrapped together. And you can kind of see they go all the way up here. And then on top of the trellis, that provides a lot of shade. So let's take a look up here. You can basically hang back here and get all the shade. And the size of this trellis is massive. Like, look at this. It goes all the way down. It's probably, I don't know, 20, 25 feet wide or 20, 25 feet long. This is fantastic. And then again, this is the dining room here. So you have really good flow. And then let's take a look over here. This is pretty interesting. So over a period of about 20 years, I believe, the yard wasn't always flat like this. So there was a lot of work involving permission from the other neighbors in order to kind of get the yard to be this flat. And you can kind of see back here, it might be kind of hard, but you can see this retaining wall. And then the neighbor's property is a little bit higher. You can see these steel columns here. You know, appears they've done a good job. I mean, I don't see any, it all looks pretty vertical here. So this is just such a lush yard that I feel like this home is a fit for so many different people. Just spending a little bit of time at the house now, and many times I've been here over the last few months, you just get this feeling of how calm it is and how peaceful it is. And it's just a really zen vibe that it's really not that common. I mean, here you've got a couple rose bushes. Let's check out this area over here. For someone who really values privacy, and this is nice for someone who has a green thumb, you get this really good exposure because I mean, the sun's obviously pretty hot right now, but you get this garden bed here. You get another one over here where it's covered. I mean, there's so much that you can do to grow whatever you want in the backyard here. And it's cool. I was chatting with some clients the other day who have a house in San Carlos, and they've got some chickens in their backyard. And you could probably even do that here if you're into that. Just don't get the rooster because you don't want them waking up your neighbors. But this is nice. Okay, let's take a look down the side of the house. Now, typically, purpose of this, I always like to educate you wherever I can. But what's nice here, and this is a stucco exterior here. Now, what I think is cool is a lot of times in San Mateo County, we will see soil that's here on the side of the house, and then the soil will kind of touch the foundation here. Usually the stucco will go all the way down, and then there's a soil there. And that's where you can get subterranean termites that kind of come into the house. And so it's nice here, you just have concrete, stucco, and we can kind of see where there's been like some little, looks like hairline cracks fix over here, over time. But again, that's probably just from settling, would be my guess. You can see another little one here. But the other thing that's nice is the drainage. This house has downspouts, which most homes do have. And then this is tied into a drain, and then the water just kind of flows out to the street. Most homes, unfortunately, they let the water out right here. So here we've got, this connects all the way out to the street. You've got another drain here, and that's why you don't see any evidence of like pooling water or ponding, anything like that. And then if we look down here, this will typically give you access to the crawl space underneath. So when people kind of talk about crawl space, that's the space under the home where you can crawl. And no, obviously you're not going down there to hang out, but this is a good way if you're trying to access your plumbing or electrical, is to go in here. And I like seeing it's no moisture and there's no pooling water. But drainage is a very common issue that we do have on the peninsula. Basically, the water goes from 280 all the way down to 101. It doesn't matter how expensive your house is, there's gonna be water. So it is something that you can typically solve with money, but no one wants it. So it's just something, as you're watching this, whatever home you choose to buy, you really wanna focus on the drainage and understanding what's going on there. All right, let's check out the garage, because this is pretty sweet here. I wish that all homes had garages this awesome, but we have the tennis ball. And I remember when my wife and I were moving down from San Francisco to Burlingame, and we had this like vision of, oh my God, we wanna have a garage where we can pull in with the tennis ball and just kind of hit that. And we never sadly achieved that vision, but I'm glad to see that we've got a Pen 1 here, that's involved. And then we even have a second one over here. So this is 2 cars side by side. We have a huge loft area up top where you can just kind of store stuff. It's not easy to get up there, and you can see there's a lot of hooks up here where we can hang stuff up top. And then let's open up the garage door here. All right, let's take a look at the driveway and everything, because this is nice. You basically have 2-car parking here, then you have another 2-car parking here, and then you have parking in front of the street. So there's really plenty of space here. But that's a nice thing about Mills Estates, that there's this much space, where some other neighborhoods, like in Burlingame Gables, for example, or Lion Hogue, the homes are a little bit closer together. They're more in 5,000 square foot lots. But here, a lot of oversized lots, a lot of more 7,000, 8,000 square foot lots. So we have the hot water heater here, which is a pretty typical size. I think this is probably a 40 gallon, actually it says 38 gallons, and then we have the furnace right here. Now, what's interesting is the wall here is drywalled, which is nice. However, there's other parts of the garage where it's not drywalled. So if you wanted to, and I guess it's not a big deal, but you could add a little more drywall there and finish it off. And then the ceiling here, or the roof, is not insulated. This is pretty common though for older houses, and I mean, no one's really hanging out here all the time, but you could add insulation up there and then finish that off. And you can kind of see in this part of the house, or the garage, again, this is original, so the siding is just on the other side where I'm tapping here. But if you wanted to, you could add insulation in here and then add drywall on top of it. Again, it's probably not necessary because it's just like one little corner here of the garage. But when new homes are built, this is essentially what it looks like. So what's really nice about the Mills Estates neighborhood is if you kind of like being close to 280, because obviously 101 can sometimes be a mess from a traffic perspective, and 280, it's nice if you work down in the valley or work up in the city, or just kind of value that proximity to the freeway. You just kind of pop up Truesdale. So from the home we're just at, it's super easy. You just pop up on Truesdale, like 2 minutes, or at the top of the hill. We're actually driving that direction right now because I want to show you Cuernavaca Park, which is fantastic. But from the house, if we were to head east, about 2 minutes, we would hit El Camino. And then if you wanted to take Caltrain or BART, you could go to the Millbrae station. And that's very easy for getting up to San Francisco if that's of importance to you. So the history of Mills Estates is kind of interesting. It's a little bit of a dark history, if there could be a dark history around here. I think it was back in the 60s or so. The legend is that the whole neighborhood was covered in oak trees, and it was just kind of more of a wild area. The developer who owned it really wanted to do a big project. So my understanding, there are all these protected trees and habitat and all that, but obviously very valuable real estate. And my understanding is there's a couple different versions of the story, but one is that the developer came in overnight and basically demoed the whole hillside, and it looked like a bomb went off. And you can actually see a picture online. I mean, the whole neighborhood, it was just totally barren. So I guess good from a developer perspective, because then you can kind of build what you want and have some flatter lots and all that, but that's kind of what happened. All right, so we are at Cuernavaca Park right now, and this is the westernmost, one of the most westernmost parks in Burlingame up in the hills. There's also Skyline Dog Park, which is pretty close by, but you have some really awesome views of the bay, which on a clear day like this are killers. So if you're kind of up on the hill in the Mills Estates neighborhood where we were before at my listing there wasn't really a view, but for a lot of the homes kind of up here, the views are killers. So I want to show you down here. You've got the basketball court, we have the playground here, and then all the way down there, it's probably a little bit hard to see, but the field was just redone and it's a beautiful turf field there. It's used for both soccer and for baseball, and oh my God, look at the view. And you can actually see, can't really see through these trees, but that's where the airport is, all the way down there. And right now, I can see the airport, I can see downtown San Francisco, and I can even see the Bay Bridge. And it didn't even rain in the last few days, because sometimes when it rains, it clears out the smog and the view's even better. But the AQI right now is only 30, so we got a good view. Anyways, this is nice. Anywhere you live in the Mills Estates neighborhood, this is kind of the place that you're gonna be able to come to for a park. But in Burlingame, we have over 15 parks and only 12 neighborhoods. So we have so many parks, and if you're into parks, you're absolutely gonna check the box here in Burlingame. The other thing I'll note, kind of around the perimeter of Cuernavaca Park, there's some homes called Eichlers. And those are all very modern style homes that were very popular during the 60s. And a lot of people aren't a fan of them, but there's a smaller subset of people who are massive fans. Personally, I'm a huge fan. I think they're really cool, the modern style of architecture. We're gonna be doing a video in a few months on a really, basically one of the best Eichlers on the peninsula. That was on the cover of a magazine, so stay tuned for that. That'll come out probably in July. But we'll pause there. I won't get too far into the weeds on the Eichlers. But anyways, Mills Estates is a pretty sweet spot. So if you're thinking about moving to Burlingame or within Burlingame, or you're watching this and you live in the East Bay or San Francisco or a different part of the country, and you're just kind of curious about what the real estate market is like, would love to chat with you. So we're on Truesdale right now, which kind of that main street that I was telling you about, and we're at Franklin Elementary School. Franklin is one of 6 public elementary schools in Burlingame. It's a top-ranked school, and it actually, on one side of it is BIS. Kind of on the south side of Franklin is BIS. That's Burlingame Intermediate School. We have one public middle school in Burlingame and then one public high school, which is Burlingame High. Up until the year 2000, if you lived in this part of Burlingame, you go to Mills High School, since that was actually much closer geographically. But then around that time, then they say, okay, anywhere you live in Burlingame, you go to Burlingame High School. So from here all the way down to BHS is probably like an 8 to 10 minute drive. So not the end of the world, but definitely not walking distance. So you can take a bus or drive, or parents can give you a ride, whatever. But Franklin's cool. We've been to different events for scouts in the auditorium here, and I've had many friends and clients whose kids go here. And overall, it's just a beautiful campus with a nice playground and a huge grassy field that is very popular on the weekends for people from all throughout the community can take advantage of what's here. All right, so let me give you a sense of what a typical block is like here in Mills Estates. This is actually a super flat block. I mean, there's a little bit of a downslope here, but other streets in the neighborhood are gonna be a little bit more vertical. Whereas think, okay, if you're gonna ride a bike, could you ride a bike here easily? Or some of the other ones, it's gonna be a heck of a workout. So I like this part of Mills Estates. We're about halfway up the hill. We're right around the corner from Franklin Elementary. Just take a look at these homes across the street, for example. Mostly one-level ranch-style homes. That's gonna be very common in the Mills Estates neighborhood. And my guess is both of these homes have really gorgeous views, probably of the airport or bay, and probably looking down on the backside of Franklin Elementary School. And then let's just keep walking, we'll loop it around. But all of the homes in Mills Estates, the developer here was Truesdale and Murchison. So you probably heard these names before, of course. And back in the 50s, that was kind of when they bought the land and then started kind of developing it over a period of time. But we do see some different style of homes. So those other two are ranch style. These two here are ranch style. This one actually has a wood shake roof on it, which those aren't the most popular roofs nowadays because of the fire risk. And it's a totally huge mess right now from an insurance perspective for anyone with a wood shake roof. So if you buy a home with a wood shake roof, you're gonna run into some insurance issues, sadly. But it's fair. I mean, who wants to buy a home that has a little bit more risk than something else? And so I have a listing right now in Hillsborough where it has a wood shake roof. And we got 3 quotes to replace the roof between $49,000 and $51,000. And my expectation is whoever buys the house, they'll probably put a new roof on there right away. So that way way they can reduce their homeowner's insurance or go get a new policy. All right, take a look at this house here. This looks like, I don't know if this is a new construction house, but it absolutely looks like it. It is gorgeous. Really modern style, not only one main window here. I like that kind of wood siding look, very modern. I hadn't seen this house before. And then if we kind of cross the street, let's take a look at this other house. Notice here in Mills Estates, you get some really wide blocks. Of course, it's trash day, what is our luck? But you get some really wide streets here. And so it just gives this more spacious feel compared to other parts of Burlingame. You have tons of trees here, but there are neighborhoods that are gonna give you maybe even better tree density, but I don't think it's a complaint that people have. But take a look at this place. Obviously not original with these columns here, a little bit wider front door area, but again, really pretty. Kind of having a big driveway that goes into the property with a 2-car garage. Again, that's pretty sweet. If you kind of look up here, you can see it starts to get steep fairly quick, and we're gonna see a car go by, so you can kind of see how the car looks like a Model X heading a little bit up the hill there. And so if you're here where it's a little flatter versus 100 feet higher in the hill, this is gonna be a little bit more pricey just because it's a little flatter and people tend to pay a little bit more of a premium. Across the street here is a cul-de-sac, and in Burlingame we have very, very few cul-de-sacs. So obviously I'm a huge fan of those. It's nothing, you can't even knock a cul-de-sac, but they're very popular. There's just so few of those. If I guess how many cul-de-sacs are there in Burlingame? Probably less than 20. That would be my guess out of like 6,200 houses. So maybe there's less than 100 houses on the cul-de-sac or a dead end street. So those are pretty rare. If you're thinking about making a move to Burlingame, within Burlingame, would love to chat with you guys. All my contact info is in the description below. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about what it's like living in Burlingame, check out this video or this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.